As the story within Tarkov continues to evolve, and with major updates on the horizon bringing new maps, new characters and bosses, new dealers, and new stories, let's recap everything we know about the story of Tarkov so far, and what questions are still unanswered, at least as of late 2021. This is the Escape from Tarkov Lore Roundup. Let's start off with the big picture with what we know so far. Escape from Tarkov takes place somewhere between the year 2016 and 2028 in the Norvinsk Special Economic Zone, located in Russia near the Gulf of Finland. There are actually two cities in this region. Tarkov City, which we are familiar with, which served as the main industrial and economic area, and Norvinsk City, which was an upper-class sister city to serve as the main residential and entertainment hub for wealthy and privileged individuals. These cities were established to attract international business and manufacturing to Russia by offering low to zero business regulations and red tape, as well as nearly zero corporate taxes. By creating what is essentially a capitalist playground, corporations around the world flocked to the region, along with massive amounts of international money, and both cities grew at an astonishing rate. One of those corporations was a massive holding company by the name of Terra Group, which had many subsidiaries, one of them being Terra Group Labs. As early as 2009, the Terra Group Labs Corporation illegally purchased several pieces of real estate in the Norvinsk region by bribing and colluding with local government officials. One of these locations was the chemical plant number 16, better known as Factory, where unknown substances were manufactured. Meanwhile, the Terra Group Corporation started to take interest in procuring military assets and hardware in the region, as well as hiring the international private military company United Security, or USEC, to begin taking over all armed security for the Terra Group Corporation. At some point, Terra Group's illegal activities and scandals reached the ears of the top Russian Federation authorities, and an investigation was launched. After a failed seizure of key Terra Group individuals and a search warrant of the Terra Group headquarters in Tarkov City by the Russian FSB, which left several FSB investigators dead, the Kremlin decided to covertly form their own PMC group to investigate the Terra Group dealings and make it appear, at least legally, to the international community that the Russian government was taking a hands-off approach. This resulted in an unexpected fierce retaliation by Terra Group, using their USEC private army to defend their facilities and secrets at all costs, including by evacuating and then completely demolishing their own headquarters. It was now obvious that whatever Terra Group was hiding was huge if they were willing to start a small war to defend their secrets, and Bear was directed to push even deeper into the Tarkov region. Intense firefights raged in the streets of Tarkov for an unknown amount of time, and eventually the city was evacuated to protect civilian lives. The fighting was so intense that at some point, an EMP, or electromagnetic pulse device, was detonated, rendering all sophisticated electronics in the area damaged beyond repair. This may have been done by detonating a small thermonuclear device at very high altitude. The decision to seal off the city completely was made after Russian Federation troops were tricked into openly engaging UN peacekeeping forces that were assigned to the region to prevent violence and broker peace between the two warring factions. After this, the risk of a full-scale international incident and provoking Western powers to use military action was very real, so withdrawal was the only option. Now, the city of Tarkov has been sealed off for an unknown amount of time, but by my estimates, it has been as short as 6 months, but as long as 2 years. In that time, civilians and survivors that were left behind or chose to stay in the city have formed into criminal gangs and are known as scavs. After the city was sealed off, trapped Bear and USEC PMCs continue to fight over territory, but their original mission has now become secondary to simple survival and eventual escape. This is the basic premise for the story of Tarkov, but now let's look at what we know so far about the factions and people. Our players, which are either USEC or Bear PMCs, were originally tasked with either hiding or discovering Terra Group's secrets, but as I said before, that mission is either completely abandoned at this point or has at least become secondary to survival and escape. Terra Group is no longer sending directives or aid to trapped USEC, and whoever is in charge of Bear is not sending any help to them either. In some cases, Bear and USEC will actually team up if it means a better chance for survival. So while I do think that uncovering Terra Group's secrets is the final endgame for Escape from Tarkov, escape is primary. And by escape, I don't think it means simply leaving the borders of Tarkov City. Your PMC will have to win favors with connected individuals who can basically smuggle your PMC out unseen by by the outside world, because you can bet your bottom dollar that Tarkov is surrounded by international spies, media, and the Russian government itself that would detain your PMC indefinitely to extract intelligence about what's been going on inside the city. To escape Tarkov, you need to find a way to get out covertly and make a completely new identity somewhere else. Now let's talk about what we know about the dealers so far. Recently we learned that Mechanic, Jaeger, Killa, and Tagilla are all far more connected than we originally thought. Mechanic was the foreman at the chemical plant before violence broke out, and Jaeger was a worker there. Also working there at the time was Killa and Tagilla, who are brothers. We don't know much more other than this, and that the two brothers turned bosses had some kind of sibling rivalry going on. We'll have to see what happens as more quest lines come out. Therapist is probably one of the most interesting dealers to keep an eye on. She's known as being a compassionate healer amongst many in Tarkov, and has a free aid camp located inside the city itself. But she knows way too much about the Terra Group Corporation, and has a good understanding of high-ranking officials in the company, which is very suspicious. Prapper seems to have an affinity for the Bear PMC, and Peacekeeper and his UN buddies have been indirectly aiding USEC. It will be interesting to see if we get faction-specific quests later from these guys. Skier is basically a huge degenerate and cares only about himself and his personal wealth. And we know almost nothing about Fence, other than he has deep connections with the Scav gangs. Now let's take a look at the bosses. We don't have a whole lot to go on here, so a lot of this is speculation until their stories are clarified further. Glukar seems to be the king of the raiders, and may have been the one who organized Scavs who had military experience or ex-PMCs into joining his raider gangs. He lives on the reserve military base and frequently patrols various areas, and even when dying, he orders that the highest ranking member of his squad is now in charge, indicating that they keep some kind of rank structure. There's tons of raiders on reserve, and we also had a special event where Glukar went to Labs, another map with tons of raiders, so he seems to be the guy in charge of them. What he's trying to accomplish is completely unknown so far. Reshala appears to be a criminal or a gangster that was probably overjoyed to have Tarkov fall into mayhem. His guards all wear police uniforms, but I'm guessing these are stolen and they're not actually former cops. In some older lore documents, a police station was attacked by criminals early on, and this may have been Reshala and his guys. They all bear the last name Zavodskoy, which translates to from factory, so I'm assuming that Reshala and his gang were all low-wage troublemakers that worked at the factory and lived in the dorms. I don't have much to go on in regards to Sturman, Killa, and Tagilla. They all patrol their respective maps, but what they're doing there isn't really known. My best guess is that Sturman and his boys are trying to claim territory as their own, but we'll have to wait and see if we get more information about these guys. If you have ideas, put them in the comments. Sanitar probably has the most well-known backstory of all the bosses. Therapist knows exactly who he is, but is reluctant to tell us much. He worked at the Terra Group labs and has medical expertise as well as performed tests on human subjects. What he was testing is unknown. We eventually obtain a thumb drive from his comically small office in the lab and hand it over to Peacekeeper, who is also reluctant to tell us much about him, other than some minor details such as he's been divorced. Therapist also pleads for us not to kill him when Jaeger asks us to, and instead provide her very high-level keycards to give to Sanitar in order to broker a peaceful deal to work together. Why Sanitar wants access to these areas is unknown, but my best guess is he wants to either destroy evidence, retrieve something, or continue his experiments. Let me know if you have any additional ideas. And lastly, we're going to touch on things we know almost nothing about, but we can make some speculations. Cultists have been hinted at for a very long time and have finally made their way into the game somewhat recently. At face value, they appear to be brainwashed zealots that see the world unraveling around them as a sign of the end times, but rather than worship some kind of god or seek salvation in an afterlife, they seem to worship violence and offer weapons as well as human and animal sacrifice at their ritual locations. They prefer to operate at night and are in possession of some kind of advanced Terra Group combat stimulator that reduces their heat signature on thermal imaging devices. I have two theories when it comes to these guys. First, I absolutely think they have some kind of connection to Terra Group. How else would they have all these stimulators? And it may also explain why they're so crazy. Second is that I believe when they sneak up on you and stab you with the toxic knife, that this is some kind of test. If you have an immunity or the antidote, you are worthy in their eyes and will not become a sacrifice, and so they don't shoot you. But if you fight back, they all open up on you and become one of their victims. Again, if you have additional theories, post them down below. And the Black Division. These guys might be even more mysterious than the Cultists, and it looks like we're going to learn more about them soon. They made their debut in the Raid live-action series finale, and they are obviously highly trained and very well-funded military professionals, comprised of of either active or former special operations operators. In the Raid series, they may have also brokered a deal between the local scavs to act as a diversion and use their numbers to successfully assault the Russian cordon area near the port on shoreline, maybe promising them gear, weapons, and rations of all the Russian troops if they agreed to help. These tactics of recruiting locals to leverage a tactical advantage is classic modern special operations doctrine. My main theory as to who these guys are lies in another old lore document posted by BSG many years ago, in which an unknown agent was conducting surveillance operations on Terra Group and USEC within Tarkov. During that time, he noted that a new high-level executive within the USEC company was visiting the area by the name of Gus Van Saint. Van Saint was the director of USEC Special Operations. Could the Black Division be this secret top-tier division of USEC? In the Raid series, they retrieved whatever secure container that the protagonist was attempting to leave with, and they seemed to have either a British or American accent. It was kind of hard to tell. My best guess is that they are a new, extremely highly trained and very well-equipped division of USEC, hired by Terra Group to finally put a stop to the shenanigans in Tarkov, and that these guys have no qualms killing fellow average USEC guys if it means accomplishing a mission. If you have theories of your own, you know what to do. That's just about everything we know so far about the lore and story of Tarkov. I'm sure I might have missed some small details, including any information found in the books, which I'm currently reading. I'll provide a full review of those books when I'm finished. As new content is released with the Lighthouse location, Streets of Tarkov, new bosses and dealers, and new quests, we'll update you all with another lore roundup video. And before I sign off, here's a quick update on our dealer series. We really wanted to pump up the production quality of this series significantly, and to do that, I've added in more narrative storytelling elements to the script, as well as hire professional artists to illustrate storyboards to match the story, instead of trying to act it out in-game. We ran into numerous issues and had to switch artists several times, but the guy working on it now is extremely talented and working hard to get the illustrations done. I did have to pay a huge amount of money out of pocket to get this done, but my hope is it'll be worth it in the end, and that it will create a really enjoyable product for you all. I promise you that those new videos are in the works and will be released soon. But until then, I'm Jeff with EUL Gaming. Good luck out there.